Alrighty, guys, welcome back well, not welcome back so much as welcome to a special Origin episode of Hit the Gap. We've got Mitchy. Mitchy's coming remotely this time because I'm not around. I'm actually here in Brisbane, sitting on the 64th floor of the Sky Tower, Sky Tree. What was that called? It's where we stayed for Game 2 a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely Sky Tower. It was.
Yeah. Overlooking the Brisbane River and
Brisbane
Kangaroo
River.
Point at the moment. I'd love to pick the camera up and show a view of it, but I'm scared I won't get it set up right. Maybe I'll do it at the end. But I digress. Anyway, how you going, Mitchy?
Fantastic. Always positive times around the old Origin. Not so much for the teams, of course, but for Origin itself,
The
it is it's always positive
vibe,
for from the vibe perspective. Yeah, for that.
very fun. Yeah,
Unless
indeed.
your club is playing footy this week or next week, it's yeah, it's bad. That's about as bad as it gets, really. But you know what? If
Yeah,
you're not, you're up good.
yep. Last round would have been tough for all the teams that did have Origin players as well. Not
Yeah.
being able to partake in the buy, unfortunately. But what we might do is we did mention the teams briefly in last week's episode, because they dropped that day. But we might do a quick run through again now and just maybe even just talk about the matchups in both teams, both positions and whatnot. So, as per usual, we'll start from fullback. Queensland recalling not our incumbent, but our old, you might as well say, fullback in Kalen Ponga before he got injured, and Walsh took his spot last year. But we've got Kalen Ponga lining up against Dylan Edwards, which I think most people will probably agree. Not so much a shock selection, but maybe just a bit unusual for the fact of, New South Wales old fullback Teddy having an absolute blinder in form the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months, even, really, right?
You'd have to even argue that Teddy earned it. Really.
I agree. Yeah, personally,
I,
I agree, and I think
I
a lot
think
of people would
he's
as well.
I think he's by far the best fullback that New South Wales has at the moment.
Hmm.
From all teams' perspectives, I thought he was the best pick. So I'm kind of shocked that they didn't go him.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, Dylan's been not exactly the best form as of late.
yeah,
And even last year he wasn't really the best form either. But obviously he's had so many injuries over the last 2 years that it's been obviously a bit tough on him. But
yeah,
good on
yep,
him getting the spot, I guess.
yeah. I mean, when you compare the two, that's exactly right. I mean, going back last year when Edwards got the spot, they were sort of going opposite directions. Edwards' form had been good and then was sort of spiking, whereas Teddy was having a bit of a lull, an age-based lull, you would assume.
Mm.
Um, Whereas this year, yeah, it seems like Teddy's almost like gotten back to career best. He's almost,
I
well,
would
yeah,
say
like
it's
you said,
career record best, really, for
yeah,
Teddy.
he competed and he probably should have won that spot. But either
Mm.
way, Edwards, I mean, in safe hands with Edwards regardless. But yeah, definitely a bit of a interesting selection from Laurie there. But that being said, Laurie coming back, I think a lot of people probably assumed as well he'd go back to his old bag of tricks, old duffel bag
Mm.
of old school weapons with
He'd
Teddy.
he would probably want to pick comfort for his first game back, I guess.
Yeah, you can
We'll
feel it
see
out
what
a bit
happens with
still.
game 2, but yeah.
Yep. Hmm. But then going back to our squad with Ponga, Ponga as well, or Punga, or Bonga, as some people have referred to him this year, not having the greatest form. Started off looking strong, I would say. Definitely had hope at the start of the season with the Knights, and then ever since then has just dropped off a cliff massively in form.
Yeah.
We've spoken about it a few times, haven't we? Just like
Mm.
you've brought up how it looks like he's scared to take hit ups and stuff, but a lot of not even just wanting to be there or not wanting to take offloads or just be the man they're ready to run. So it's a bit scary from that perspective.
And I mean, it you have to wonder if it's maybe a case of maybe it's an issue with the Knights. Maybe he just doesn't want to be at the Knights. Who really knows? I guess. I mean, look, he left the Knights foraging camp this week, and the Knights put on a show. So, um,
Sharp
yeah,
on the
Sharp,
2.0.
Sharp came out blazing, guns blazing. So,
Yeah.
look,
Yep.
it's we'll see. Maybe we'll play tomorrow night, and Kalen will have an absolute blinder, and everyone will be on the Ponga train again. So it's
Yeah,
entirely possible. It's one of those things where maybe he just shouldn't be at the Knights. Who knows? But we'll see.
yeah. Who
We'll
knows?
see what
Yeah,
he
you're
brings
right.
to the Origin camp, and we'll see if he actually starts taking runs at Origin.
Yeah, there's definitely, it's a bit odd. Definitely something there for sure. But yeah, it could be like you're saying, could be something Ponga needs to be back around the Origin vibe, but the Origin team, different team dynamic and different environment, and that might actually, I don't know, help reawaken him or bring him out of his shell a bit as such. But
Give him a
yes,
bit of a boon, yeah.
God, everyone in Queensland can only hope that's the case. I mean,
Yeah,
really, outside of Ponga, though, there weren't a whole lot of viable or better options, in my opinion. You probably robbing Peter to pay Paul at the end of the day, putting someone else there. Hamso possibly, but whether he would, I don't know, insert himself enough as a fullback in Origin, I don't know. I think him being at centre, he's shown how great he is there, but I think he's probably a better weapon at centre, in my opinion.
I'd say he's better
Um,
in centre.
yeah,
Even
definitely.
even even at club level, I'd prefer him to be a centre, to be honest. But um, they like a passive fullback, and it works for their game currently, I guess. So good on them.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, so I mean, really, everyone hoping Ponga has a breakout game or a breakout Origin game anyway, but we
A
shall see tomorrow
reignite.
night. Yep. To the wings. So currently listed, we've got Xavier Coates up against Brian Toto. Now, this one, bit of a height mismatch. So Coates, as we know, can leap over a two-story house at the best, with ease, without even
Oh, I
trying. But
mean,
on his best days,
we saw that try he scored not long ago, right? I mean,
yeah,
that was very very high. He
literally,
got
literally 2 weeks
2 meters.
ago, I think, wasn't it?
Mm,
Yeah,
yep.
yep,
He
yep.
Well, that was probably Specky of the year, probably out of AFL and NRL. But I'd I don't like the odds of Xavier and Brian against each other there, and we have to still wait and see if they actually move them around between Xavier and Val. So
Yeah, you would have to think because I mean, as it is, Toto probably the harder ball runner, one of the harder ball runners in the wing spot anyway. But just that height mismatch or disadvantage there. So going Coates' way, if they kick and go Coates' way, he's obviously gonna probably not even jump. He's just gonna pluck the ball out of the air out of Toto. Whereas the other one you're mentioning as well, it's pretty much the same on the other side. Lomax has that bit of a height advantage, but just that leap over Holmes. So
mm.
yeah, whether that does change up, I don't know. I did hear Lomax mention something, and again, whether it was a bit of smoke and mirrors, but mentioned something about thinking he'd probably be marking up against Val there. So we'll see what happens. Toto though, yeah, definitely. I mean, another one coming back from injury and form not as great as we have seen. Can't expect too much though. Just yet he hasn't had that many games, so you can't really expect him to just walk back in and be at peak form like he had been prior. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe just like you said, a bit of a comfort picking the team that was just to not disrupt the energy around the camp and I guess not destroy a winning formula. Right, that's what I would think.
I mean, in all fairness as well, it's always just a very safe and defensive pick having Brian there.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the better tacklers in the game, and he's also one of the better tackle busters in the game too. So,
Mhm.
both from an offensive and a defensive perspective, I think it's hard to really look past Brian. Um,
Yep. Yep.
you'd have to argue there's not really anyone that can play 2 or 5 who makes as many tackle busts as he does in the average game. So
Yeah, exactly. You tackle breaks and then, even PCMs at the best of times too. Just
yeah,
absolutely dominant. You're not wrong about that. So, I mean, if it does end up being that way, I guess it's just going to be the same either side of the field, really. But you got
I think
Coates and Lomax, jumping up to a meter, 2 meters above their opponent there. But yeah,
I think realistically, what you'll see you'll see them try and match Xavier against Lomax,
Max,
and
yeah.
have Holmes line up against To'o. They'll try and anticipate that and try and aim for that, I think.
Yeah, you probably, I mean, New South Wales probably win out there because, same height, same sort of leap in Toto and Holmes. But Toto probably slightly better defensively, maybe. But I'd say a stronger run against Holmes, who has been known to have defensive deficiencies. I mean, even at the Cowboys, he did. But yeah, hasn't been super great so far at the Dragons this year. So something they'll probably try and mark up against or pinpoint. I think so. They'd win that battle if they did that, as opposed to like we were just talking about having the current formula. I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. Yep. And the next one is in centres. We got our debutant Robert Toya up against Stephen Crichton. Sorry, Stephen Crichton's on the other end of the field there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this one. Hey, it's
I guess the positive part about Robert here is that because he's versed, I think, Trell once this year already, at
yeah,
club level, and
yeah,
he absolutely dominated him. He absolutely dominated Trell. So, I guess this is going to be an interesting one to see what Trell brings back to the centers, because he's sort of
yeah.
floated between a few different positions so far this season. He's covered at 1, he's covered at 6, he's covered at 4 as well already. So. I think it's going to be, and for what it's worth, I think Latrell is a better 4 than he is anything else in the game currently. But I think it's going to be interesting to see if Robert can replicate what he did at club level.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, he did decently marking up against him, like defending him, man. Like in comparison to others, and especially for when he has played at centre, but when he does play at centre at Origin, that's what Latrell loves to do, is get in people's faces and just push and try and get up on them. And once he senses that little bit of I guess discomfort or uncertainty, that's when he just he
Gets
pressures
around
him
you.
even more. Yeah, that's it. Whereas Toya sort of marked him fairly well when he's playing at They played the Rabbitohs. Roosters played the Rabbitohs. So unfortunately, I mean, he's been good, but unfortunately, just not big enough sample size, in my opinion. 10 games. I mean,
One game against Troll and 10 games
yeah,
overall. It's a
yeah.
terrible sample size. So I
It's
mean,
hard to it's hard to say. Hey, he's out and out a gun center, but yeah, I mean, from what we've seen, it's been good. It's been he's a good prospect, but could be
can it be
anything. Could be
delivered
anyone's game.
on the great stage is the question.
Yeah, exactly right. And then you'll have Stephen Crichton there, who, if he does play, I think he'll be marking up against Hemiso. Crichton, now it was odd because going into camp, all the news was about Haas, right? Haas possibly having a cork or a quad injury, rather. It was a quad injury.
Yeah, cool.
Smoking mirrors again, very possibly. But supposedly today he's been cleared to play, whereas Crichton, I think, what's he got going on? Is it a
It is a
groin
cork.
injury or something? A
This is a
cork?
cork. Yeah, this is a
Okay,
cork that he
that's
has
what I
not been
was.
able to get out of his
Yeah,
thigh.
yeah, yep. So he's been dealing with that since, I think it was early in the training camp. I'm pretty sure. Which I heard last night they rushed
But
Matty
mind you,
Burton.
geez, I tell you, mind you, it's a bit soft to drop out of Origin for a cork. It feels very smoke and mirrors to me. That's all. It feels incredibly smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, the story doesn't really line up, especially for. I know he's been dealing with something for the last little while. It might be a shoulder, actually, though, is what I'm thinking of at club level. But yeah, who knows? Like you said, smoke and mirrors, very, very likely, very possible.
Let's say he does play. That means he will probably be playing up. He'll be lining up against Hammer.
MSO, yeah, exactly. Yep.
I think early game Critter beats him early game every time. Every
Yeah,
time. I
yeah,
think towards the late game, Hammer will maybe test him a little bit when he
yeah.
gets fatigued,
hmm
especially if he is carrying anything. But yeah, geez, I tell you what, that's a severe mismatch if that's what happens.
Probably one of, if not best, so far this year. I would say Critter at club level, anyway, for the Dogs. I mean, we've
Oh,
seen him be single-handedly or instrumental, really, for massive comebacks and wins. Off the back of some of his
and
plays and defensive efforts. But
literally be the difference in that game.
yeah,
Like in
100%.
a lot of the games where they've had these big massive comebacks, it's been him who's making the break down that right edge and just
Yep.
absolutely dumpstering all 3 people that he lines up near. and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
been like he's an incredibly powerful center, incredibly
yeah.
powerful. So I think that's a severe mismatch if he's going to be lining up against Hammer. Unfortunately for Ham.
I think it's going to be a tough one there. I think Crichton up against Hemiso. So, like you said, early game, Crichton probably dominates, but later on with a bit of fatigue or something like that, or yeah, if it does play up, then Hemiso probably the weapon, the weapon we're going to need there,
Yeah,
really. But then the other side of that now is like we were talking about before, having Toya up against Latrell. Whether you know what I mean, Toya does sort of carry that same sort of defensive effort into camp here, into Origin, or whether
I'm a little less worried about Robert. You know,
Mhm.
I think the only thing that's going to suck is if he gets if they pick on him in the early game, it'll ruin him for the rest of the game. That's my
Yeah,
only real concern. I think if he has a strong showing in that first like 20 30 minutes, I
yep,
think he'll be okay.
yep, I agree.
But yeah, I think the mismatch is going to be really Hammer.
Yep,
But once we get towards end game, I think we'll start seeing Hammer really abuse that sort of like inside run,
we've
step
seen
off
it
the left.
before.
So
We've
and
seen
we
him
have
run
seen it
nearly, yeah,
many
nearly a length of
times.
field to score his own try, if not set up one or two. So definitely hoping for that. Mitchell at centre. We know how he is. We know how aggressive he can be and how dominant he can be. They just need to. That's it. Have that confidence and get in his face, not let him get in their face.
That's
Their
right.
faces rather. Yeah, and just keep him pinned down really. And then jumping over to the wings, which we mentioned before, you got the other wing rather. You got Holmes up in Lomax. Sorry, not up against Lomax, but again up with Lomax there in the number 5. Um, I think really it'll be Lomax Coates. So same sort of height advantage there, and then Holmes against Holmes. Not bad, but just hasn't been great at club
Mm.
level. He seems to. I don't know what it is. He's got some sort of Queensland magic dust, magic powder
Mm.
in his pocket. No, we're not alluding to anything in particular there, but he never seems to miss kicks in Origin, whereas he just couldn't seem to land one at club level.
Club
Even
level.
even even this year hasn't been the greatest,
Mm.
but returning back to the wing where we know he can. I think
We're
it's
we're assuming here that we'll have Hammer on the outside of Val as well, right?
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
exactly right. Yep.
So
So
with Hammer, oh sorry, with the inside of Val rather, my bad.
yep,
If
yep.
with Hammer on the inside of Val, that's already a well established combination.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. From days gone.
from days long gone, but also a consistent origin as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yep.
so I like that. It's just a matter of going to be, where are they going to move these wingers depending on where each. It's going to be a very very chess and checkers type game for that part,
Yeah.
I think.
Whether there is any movement or anything like that, exactly
Mm,
right. Yeah, I mean Holmes, great carrier of the ball. He does have those very strong runs in him as well, which is quite handy, especially later in the game. We do see him bust tackles and that. But yeah, geez, I don't. I feel like it's more of a. He hasn't been on the wing in a bit. I think it's more of a necessity sort of thing, really, at the moment. Just with
he hasn't been on the
the
wing since he was down 20 kilos as well.
yeah, exactly. So the speed, whether the speed's there or not, I think it was a few Origins ago. Did he played on the wing? Did he not?
I think he filled in on the wing, but he wasn't quick.
3 years ago. Yeah, exactly
He
right. Yeah,
wasn't quick.
it was 2 or 3 years ago because I vaguely remember, sorry, vividly rather remember a couple balls being shot out to him and then hitting hitting his belly button and then hitting the ground instead of landing right on his chest. So, um,
Was there not Hammer initially playing wing on one of those games and then he got switched in because someone in the
possibly,
center got injured, I think. But
very possibly. I
I
can't
remember
say. Yeah,
something like that happening.
not coming straight back to me, unfortunately, at the moment. But yeah, that's right. It wasn't too long ago. It was a couple of years ago, anyway. So just hoping he can mark up defensively against Toto and shut him down really. So that's going to be the main thing. And then again, if Critter
Tough go
does
though.
yeah, if Critter does stay in the side, you know what I mean. Keep him locked down as well, because as we were saying, I did hear Burton. Burton was possibly brought into the camp in case Crichton does drop out. So
Let's
I guess,
say Critter does drop out and they get Burton in that spot.
yep,
Um,
I
that
think I
makes
like that
things
better.
very very good for Hammer.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
I think Hammer has a field day there from early game onwards.
I agree. I agree.
So we can hope for
Does
that, but my goodness.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, we have seen again years gone back at the Panthers, and I think even early Bulldogs. Burton go well at centre, but it's been a while since he's played there, and unfortunately for him, he might actually be shifting there very soon at club level. Who knows? So maybe
Oh
this would be his
god.
first rep at that, but
Jeez,
that's
who
what
really knows who's going to move where at that club level? But that's for next video.
that's for the next episode. We'll talk about that more in depth. But
Oh
yeah, I think I
goodness.
like that better. I mean, they do get another good kicker. They've already got two halves that can kick very well, but they do gain another good kicker then if they get Burton. But yeah, you can't operate with that being the idea that he's going to be in
No,
the
no.
side. So they'll have to operate with the idea that he'll be marking up against Tron Toto, unfortunately. And then yeah, Lomax, as we touched on before, we've seen it. We saw it last year. Great leap. I think it was game 2 in Melbourne. He took a few kicks, tries off kicks, I think, but took a few kicks and did real well fielding them.
And even apparently
Especially,
coming off a broken foot, we've seen how athletic he can be even in these recent weeks. So
yeah, exactly right. Back at the Eels, so it's like yeah, it carried straight over. Exactly right. Um, but yeah, you'd have to think Coates against, or I hope anyway, stays Coates against Lomax. Um, Now we'll
X.
jump onto the halves. Munster and Moses. Not really like for like. I mean, Mitch does have a decent run game in him. I think Munster's run game is far better running game, but Moses just you've basically got two plug and play halfbacks. So the one thing I think we can hope for with him and Cleary together is that maybe they get in each other's way a little bit, but that's my concern. I just don't think it's going to happen. I feel like you might see Moses take the back seat here and just be like a backup, a supplementary sort of seven if he needs to be.
And I
Um,
think that's what's going to happen as well. That's the thing. I mean, Cleary will
yeah,
be taking all the kicks, 100%.
yep,
Um, Moses will. I think Moses will literally just be that sort of linchpin on the right hand side, sort of thing.
yeah,
Um,
exactly right.
just waiting, just laying
And
in
he,
wait.
and he's that's right at any given moment to oh surprise, it's my turn to kick now because he does kick down the short side very well, Moses.
Mm. The
He's
other
not
thing
bad
is
at that at
they
all.
have a lot of insurance if Cleary does go down as well. Cleary goes
Exactly.
down, Mitch moves
Yep.
straight into the seven. They can get
Yep.
Birdo in. Like
Yep.
there's plenty of option here.
The game plan doesn't change too drastically at all. You're exactly right. So, yeah, I think very,
Even Connor, I think even Connor Watson as well can move into six after that if
yeah,
they can't if they don't have Burton in the side when
yep,
if Critter's not there. So
yeah. We did see that at Magic Round 2 when the Roosters played. That did happen. I think very early in the game as well.
yeah,
But yeah, I think Munster wins with his running game and when they can disrupt the defensive line and just do some wacky stuff. Definitely think Munster wins that hands down. But yeah, kicking game. I think Moses is definitely the dominant one there. Whereas when we jump over to Daly and Cleary, this one I think is a bit more evenly matched. Cleary, I still think wins out in terms of quality kicks. Daly can sometimes he can be methodical, but he can be very off the cuff as well. I think some of his kicks, while he can turn them around all right, or he can kick downfield very well. He's known for his 40-20s and that. So is Cleary. So yeah, I think this one's going to be a bit of an evenly matched pairing there with these two.
the only thing I think that is a little bit different between these two is Cleary
Mm,
is very clear cut, no pun intended, very clear cut and very concise with what he does. You sort of almost know what he's going to do. It's very difficult to stop it.
Everything's
Um,
methodical and
Everything's
pre-planned. Exactly.
very planned and methodical, whereas
Yeah.
DC is very very snap change, like literally
Yeah,
split second. Something has just
as they call
changed.
it,
Yeah,
eyes up. He
off the
reads
cuff.
it.
Yeah, eyes
Yeah,
up, off the cuff sort of stuff. Yeah, 100%.
yeah, which is where,
I
mm,
That's
yeah,
probably
yeah,
the experience difference, I guess, between the two.
yeah.
Just
I
from
think so.
playing for so long.
Yep, yep, and that's where Munster he relishes in that with his running game, and even with some of his random little kicks and shit, chip chases and bombs and things.
Like
Very very off the cuff.
I think our probably most dangerous component to our roster really in this particular game is going to be the short ball from Harry to Munster straight out to Hammer. So I think that's probably
Yeah,
one of our go-to plays really there for this one.
yep, yep. And money keeping the defensive line second guessing, holding them up, and then bullet pass straight out to Hammer. So
That's it.
I do think though with that last position, Daly, he's coming to the end of his rep career most definitely. I know he does want to play on, but he's starting to get to that end. Um, I think his spot next year, or even possibly later in the year, we'll see what happens. But spot next year isn't as guaranteed as it has been in years gone. I
Uh,
think he may be sort of playing a bit to keep that spot next year, really. So um, it's just one of them things where you know what I mean. As the years go on, and then we start getting the other fellas knocking on the door. So we've got Dearden at 14, which we'll get to. Personally, I don't think he's a seven just yet, really.
no,
But
God no.
you got Dearden knocking on the door there, as well as even though he's not playing at the moment, Sam Walker. I think Sam Walker's going to be a big prospect and a big talking point if he can stay fit and healthy for the rest of the year and then leading into next year.
Geez, it's
I think.
concerning when a 6 or a 7 gets an ACL though.
Oh yeah, always, and he's sort of
It's
dealt with, I think, injury a bit, old young Walker. So that's the hard
yeah.
part.
I mean, anytime a half gets a half or a 5/8 gets an ACL, it's always a very dangerous thing for the future. So hopefully he can keep that maintained. But
Yeah, yeah, very rough. Yeah, so providing, as we're saying, providing he does stay fit and healthy, I think he'll be very well be knocking on the door next year for possibly debuting in the seven, or whether he does, you know what I mean, do the usual start at 14 and then come into the seven. But I
yeah,
definitely think that seven jersey will be up for grabs or be a point of contention moving forward anyway.
definitely.
Talking about forwards, we will jump into the forward pack and have a quick look at both number eights, Moe Fotuaika and Mitchell Barnett. Now, both very solid in their own right. Moe's more of a Moakai more of a old school forward in the way that he just gets up, takes those hit ups, just big body, just gets up and bends the line, tries to get up for a quick play of the ball, but just
Close your eyes and
constantly
hold
peppers them.
W.
Yeah,
Run
yeah,
forward,
that's
baby.
it. That's it. Grit your
Run it
teeth.
straight. Hmm.
Shift W. Whereas Barnett's sort of he is a big body, but almost a sleeker build as well. Great offload in him, and decent ball handling. And we've seen him. I mean, he was good at the Knights, but he's sort of come forward leaps and bounds since being at the Warriors. He's one of their best weapons, definitely in the team. So yeah, two different, very different sort of types of forward, I think, in my opinion,
Yeah, and I
marking
mean
up there.
he's Bob Barney. He's had a bit of an issue this year with discipline, I think, as opposed to last year. Not too sure what the issue is there, but I'm kind of interested to see if this actually elevates him at club level a bit more again and cleans his act up a
Mm,
little bit because he's gonna
mm.
have to be pristine tomorrow night.
Yeah, levels him out a bit, for lack of a better term. Exactly.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I mean, that's the one thing we have been missing the last couple of years, probably 2 years, maybe one or 2 years. But this year again, unfortunately, missing out on the forward pack a bit, just the bigger bodies with the ability and skill, or firebrand sort of forwards, I should say, rather.
The
But I think,
enforcers.
yeah, enforcers, that's right. But I do think, I mean, Moe's probably one of the better options, definitely at the moment, and he's done a job before, and I've got confidence he can do it again.
He's
But
also
yeah,
stepped things up at the Titans both last year and this year. So I think
yeah,
I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, and that's it as well. We'll talk about Tino in a sec, but getting on to Tino as well, in poo sides, and I know it can be a bit of a thing where it's not hard to look good in a shit side, but those guys have, I think, genuinely been quite good for their teams. They've probably been the ones that are keeping them afloat as
Tino
opposed to the
especially,
more.
man. Tino
Yeah,
especially. I mean, we've seen him do the same sort of stuff at the Titans that Critter's been doing for the Dogs.
yeah,
Just absolutely taking games and putting them on his back and just
yep,
hammering it up the field. Here they did, and they just it's he's such an absolute force lately.
yeah,
His
yep,
offload game has been incredible. His
yep. I
PCMs
agree.
has been incredible.
Yep.
So I think I'm so glad that we've got Tino and he's injury free for once because he's going to be instrumental tomorrow night.
Most definitely, most definitely. And the hooker front, we've got Harry Grant coming back, another one who, for most of the year, has been dealing with injury, unfortunately, so hasn't played a
Mm.
whole lot of games, or full games anyway. Um, Made his comeback a couple of weeks ago. He came back off the bench, or came back and played limited minutes, rather, against the Sharks, and they got absolutely dusted, unfortunately, up against Reese Robson, who I'd say hasn't been, I mean, despite the Cowboys' form, hasn't been in as good a form as he has been in the last couple of years, but um, definitely climbing back, and not in bad form at all, but definitely climbing back to where he had been. In my opinion, probably the best or one of the better picks for New South Wales. I mean, really, yeah, some people do say Appy, but I don't even know about Appy. If it was me picking, not to sabotage them, but it would either be Robson or possibly Egan, Wade Egan.
Yeah, Wade
So
Egan for me, 100%. I think
yeah,
when it comes to your hooker role for New South Wales, the only two options that have come to mind, or the only three options that have come to mind, really, is Robson, Watson, and Egan.
yeah,
They're the only
Watson's a
three
good
that I
one
would
too.
even consider.
Yeah,
Um, I think
yep,
when it comes to the 9 and the 14, they've hit them nail on the head, 100%. It's Robson and Watson.
they've
Um,
got. Yeah, you're right. Yep.
I think Wade has got a say in it
Hmm.
in terms of like just club level form.
Yeah,
Um, but it's hard to argue with the fact that you've got two incredibly powerful impact players who can move and play in many different roles, but
yeah,
also play for 80 minutes. That's
exactly right.
very, very, very powerful. That's a powerful thing to have in a game of Origin.
Exactly right. And that's it. Like we had with Grant and Hunt a couple of years ago, that strong 1-2 punch. They've got exactly that here with these two. And I mean, worst case, you know what I mean. Watson can, like you said, slot into any position. He can go into the forwards. He can go into the halves need be. He can take over for Watson or Robson, sorry, and Robson can push into the forwards middle if need be. But yeah, yeah, great. I think Reese's probably been one of, and obviously in Daly's eyes, the best option there.
Oh, I think in
And
everyone's eyes, right? Surely, I think it's
yeah,
hard to look past Robson as one of your better number nines in the game right now. That's why I'm so sad we're losing him next year.
yeah, exactly.
It hurts so
That's
much more.
that's the hard part. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly right.
Hardest part is
Um,
saying goodbye. It always is.
yeah, but
Uh,
old has a Harry Grant. Yeah, again, just rough. Just not a whole heap of games. Not a massive sample size this year, unfortunately,
yeah.
to
Look,
say,
it's a
hey, he's
concerning
in
matchup.
amazing form. Yeah,
It is truly a concerning matchup purely for the fact that he's just there's so much question mark going around him regarding his injuries.
yeah, yeah.
That's gonna be the tough part is matching up those two there, unfortunately. And
Hmm.
look, if he stays true to form prior to injury, this should be Hazard's game all over.
Yep.
Um,
Piece of
but
cake.
it's gonna be a tough one for him if he's still carrying something.
I agree. Yep, I agree. And then moving on to the other prop who we were just talking about giving massive props before, Tino and Payne Haas. Haas set to play apparently, but Tino, yeah, being probably one of the better forwards of the year, but most definitely carrying the Titans on his back. Taking that role as captain very seriously, obviously, but yeah, just finding ways to turn the tide for the Titans or even keep them in it. And I mean, some of the losses have been close losses or unfortunate, sorry, turned like losses where teams have come back. But Tino's been the one to get that lead for
hundred
them, in
percent.
my opinion. Yeah. Yep.
That's doesn't you couldn't really say it any differently, really. I think Tino has literally put that team on his fucking back.
Yep.
Um, and the same really goes for Haas. You'd have to argue that the Broncos would have a lot less points this season if it wasn't for him putting up
Agreed.
250 plus meters a game as a forward.
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
there's been
Even
games where he's played 70 minutes. Like,
yeah, that's right. Taking spells and then out of necessity coming back straight away,
yeah,
5, 10 minutes later, coming back for the rest of the game or something like that. Yeah, so just a massive running game. As we know, we've seen it every year. We see it every year, massive running game, but amazing second phase as well.
yeah.
Great ability to hold two or three defenders up and then still get a ball away somehow. So definitely going to be a dangerous one for us tomorrow night, as
If
always.
Payne is injured
Hmm.
and he is carrying something,
Hmm.
I think you're gonna see a lot of these big boys really try and bully him. Like, I
Yeah.
think you're gonna see a lot of these big boys on the Queensland side
Yep.
run straight at him and try and cause trouble. So
That's exactly what we need as well. I mean, that's literally what we need. We need that to happen
yeah,
to get any sort of footing or foothold up against them. We've sort of missed that. We missed it hard last year, being able well without having fellas like Tino out and other front rowers and that we just haven't been able to sort of get back on top or just bully them, get in their face and maintain that dominance. Exactly right. Um, and we'll have a look at the second rows now, jumping onto the second rows anyway. This one, a little somewhat interesting to me, but probably a bit of a strategic one, is Cotter. Cotter up against Martin, or not up against Martin, but wearing the number 11 like Martin.
playing Crichton, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, he'd be marking up against Crichton. Cotter just obviously not. He's played in the forwards. He's been playing in the forwards for years, but just not the biggest bloke in comparison to that forward pack of New South Wales. So putting him on the edge, I think, is probably a bit more strategic, similar to the whole Holmes thing, being on the wing. So
yeah, 100%.
hoping it does work out. And who's to say, he plays in the second row, but then someone from the middle gets a spell and he pushes over there, and then we have, say, someone like Fermor come in on the edge, because that's where
Yeah,
Fermor is naturally a centre or an edge. He'll come in there for either Cotter or Nenai at some point. But
and I actually think that's what will happen. To be honest,
mm,
I think you'll see people like Cotter move over to like sort of the 8 position when Mo takes a spell. I think
yeah,
you'll see Mo do that sort of first 22 minutes, 23 minutes,
yep,
and then you'll have Cotter move over into that spot, and then have Vermore come on, and then you'll have Lindsay relieve
Collins, yeah,
Cotter,
yeah,
until Mo's ready to come back.
back in the middle, exactly right.
Yep. That's the exact rotation that I envisioned when I saw Cotter at second row.
Hmm.
Which, as you said, it's definitely a strange pick for sure,
Mm,
but I still like it. I like the rotation of bigger bodies like that.
yeah,
Um, I
bit more
think that's a very
versatility then.
strategic. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
way more versatile and also a bit better on the prep for if there's any injuries and stuff like that.
I
Having
agree.
people like Cotter who have that sort of cardio in them to do those big minutes if they need to,
Yeah, yeah,
it's a powerful thing. We just got to hope he doesn't get injured himself.
exactly right. And hold the ball, because that's been one of at club level. It's been one of the issues for him, I
Killers.
think, in my opinion. Yeah, has
Yeah.
been drop ball, just loose balls, drop balls, balls. Balls to the wall, balls to the ground.
I'm wondering
Um,
if I'm wondering if that's a little cleaned up from playing in second row though. I think if I
Hopefully,
wonder if that cleans up a little bit as opposed to the
yeah.
prop side of things.
Yeah, yeah, I do. That's a thing. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I do think that's probably a possibility as well. Martin, though, talking about Martin, I mean, he's been one of the more dominant forces on the edge the last few years, both at club level and Origin. I mean, Origin last year, absolutely dominated and went hard. But another one that, I mean, maybe a bit of a shortfall because of how the Panthers have been going, but he seems to have sort of had a little bit of problem with ball control and stuff this year too. I think
I
could
mean, for what it's
be
worth, I think this is actually going to be one of the better matchups of the entire thing. Watching this sort of head to head here between
yeah
Martin and Nanai.
Yeah, exactly right. Martin, we know strong ball carrier in that, and we know Nenai has had his defensive lapses and did get dropped earlier in the year, back to reserve grade for them. But since then has absolutely come back and stormed back onto the field. I mean, both in attack, but defense cleaned up as well. So it should, like you said, should definitely be one of the better matchups or more exciting ones anyway to look at. But yeah, just seeing him, Martin, sort of have those few lapses this year, and again, probably a fatigue thing more than anything, but might make it somewhat a bit easier than it was last year for us, I think, anyway.
Yeah, 100%. I think
Yep,
the only real mismatch really with this head to head here is going to be the fact that Nanai has the jump, whereas Martin doesn't really have the jump.
exactly right. Yeah, yep.
Um,
His ankles wouldn't survive landing.
yeah, I think that's really the only big difference in this matchup, which is going to be awesome to watch as a spectacle
Yeah,
between the two. So
yep, most definitely. And then moving on, talking about Nenai up against Martin, you'll have Cotter up against Crichton, Angus Crichton, who last 2 years probably is actually, after not really spending as much time in the first grade side due to different things, has absolutely clawed back and claimed that spot, his origin jersey back, being quite dominant. Roosters up and down at to say it lightly, but at best up and down all year so far. He's probably been one of the better options for them coming into the year. So I
I
mean,
think
he's one of
Angus
the
is just always a very safe option, no matter what.
exactly right. In terms of aggression and that, and also ball running ability, ball control and stuff. He just, which is funny, seeing as he's only got half a finger, but just seems to be absolutely dangerous in that position on the edge there. As soon as they sniff out that there's a bit of a deficiency, or someone's a bit tired in defence, you always see him breaking the line and
Yeah.
like offloads for days.
I
So
think the big one for me with Crichton as well, right? Like I think Crichton has that sort of like that aggression. Um,
mm,
having both Crichton on one side and Martin on the
uh,
other is such a
yeah.
very aggressive sort of gameplay strategy.
Uh,
It's good for them. It's very good for them.
Yeah, they're the pricks at school that used to eat sand or throw sand in your eyes and stuff on the playground. Yeah, they're those motherfuckers. But yeah, should be a good matchup there. Definitely, I think there'll be a couple centers that might might get a little bit bullied too at times. Moving on to both the locks, Carrigan up against Yo. Carrigan probably one of the better locks this year, but again, unfortunately, suffering from some of the Broncos' up and down form. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't. It's hard. It's tough to say there's been any one Queensland forward or prop or anything that's really been better of two out of the both sides sort of thing this year.
I
Um,
think I think Carrigan has probably had the edge over Yo this
hmm
year, unfortunately for him.
hmm
Um, although for different reasons, like I feel like
mm,
Carrigan has suffered mainly because of the Broncos at the moment,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
whereas I feel like Yo has just had a bit of a form slump in general.
yeah,
Um, and that's probably, I mean, look, fair play, dude's won four in a row. Like,
yeah.
what do you, what do you?
As we always talk about with all the Panthers players, they're probably entitled to a little bit of fatigue and
Oh,
slump in form
yeah, and
after that long.
100%, 100%. And I mean,
Yeah,
um, I still think I still think he's one of those sort of go-to captains because he's so level-headed. That's
yeah,
one thing that you've always got with Isaiah is
yeah,
you're always going to get someone that's level-headed, and
yeah.
he's not the person like I don't has he ever even been sin binned? I don't I don't
Uh,
think he I think uh,
yeah,
I
he
don't,
did. Remember when the Cowboys played him? It wasn't until 3 sets later that he
oh
did.
yeah, no, he did get binned after the
Yeah,
fact, like ages
yeah,
after the fact.
yeah.
Yeah.
Back when it was a war zone for
Mm,
all that sort of stuff earlier in the year. But yeah, I know exactly
mm,
what you're saying. It's almost like having a number seven or fullback kind of, but a number seven in your lock position, and he just
yeah.
benefits from that. He just his big gangly body. He's got that
Yeah.
size, and got that ability to just get the ball, get an offload, or get the ball to whoever he needs to. The thing that's dangerous with him, and like you were saying with Carrigan as well, I think maybe being the better one of the two. I think Carrigan's probably the better ball runner. whereas Yo
Yeah,
doesn't do it as much. But when he does at times, or when he picks the right times to do it, he is exceedingly dangerous as well. So another one which should be a good matchup, I think. Hopefully,
this will be very interesting to watch.
mm,
To watch Paddy off the back of players like Tino. Watch
yes,
Paddy off the back of players
yep, yep,
like Mo Fotuaika. So
yep.
I think the running game is what's going to make the difference between these two guys here, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. We'll have a look at the interchange real quick because as the sun's starting to go down, it's getting nice and dark, nice and early here in Brisbane. Quarter to 5. I'm seeing that level 7 of the new casino, the Starlight up there. It looks like they might be having some sort of fan day or something down there. So to stop myself getting distracted, we'll punch through these. Um, on the
Easily
interchange,
distractible.
interchange, we've got Tom Dearden and Connor Watson. Now,
Mm.
Watson, in my opinion, probably the more effective utility across the park, whereas Dearden, I think, he's probably better utilized in our scenario for what our team needs. He can, if need be, go and sort of slot in and be like play like he'll probably get run over, unfortunately, because he's not as big of a
Mm.
body. He is good in defence, but does
I
have
feel like
that
he's just purely
ball handling
relief.
ability. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And again, look, if something happens to Ponga goes down. Hey, money, jump out the back and put Tommy at 6. That can
Put
happen as
Tommy at
well.
6. That's probably the one of the better case scenarios for him, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think his defense has been phenomenal. As always, it's been one of the best sort of defensive halves in the comp he has been this year. But
Mm.
yeah, I just he's like kicking game and stuff like that's not the greatest. So you're not gonna, if something does, the worst happens to DC, he goes down or whatever. I don't know how he would take over in that spot, unfortunately. But yeah, great for defense. I think he's all effort and whatnot. Um, I'm just hoping my only one worry is we don't see like with Ponga. What last year it was last year toward the end of the year when he came back, I believe. Might have even been game 3. I've sort of scrubbed it from my memory, but he came on and he was kind of ineffective. Like it was almost like they brought him on, but he just didn't add anything, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, one of those scenarios. Just hoping it doesn't end up like that. But you got to have him in the side somewhere. We got to keep him in and around it, ready to take up possibly that number 6 spot one day. So number 6 or even number 7, maybe.
Even
Who
7.
knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But then jump.
Honestly, it wouldn't actually shock me if we saw him ever move to a 7, but it depends on how he
Mm.
goes at club level over the next couple of years.
Yeah, exactly, and it may take a couple of years
That's the thing. Yeah.
at our rate anyway at the moment. But yeah, get jumping back onto Watson. Yeah, just been great for the Roosters. Playing hooker this year and years gone. Very reliable and can push into the middle. Great utility and relief for Robson, like we spoke about earlier. Gives them a good little combination there and lets them switch their dynamic up and do some different stuff, most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, with Watson, honestly, it feels like Damien Cook reborn sort of thing with this bloke, honestly. So,
Yep,
we saw how powerful Damien Cook was when he was at his prime, just running an absolute muck in the middle of the field.
yeah,
Um,
yep,
I, this is the same sort of thing you get from Watson, and the same sort of thing you get from Robson, and having them
yep,
both on the same team is very strong.
yeah,
Yeah, that's probably the biggest mismatch of this whole thing.
yeah,
Um,
yep, yep,
is that you've kind of got someone who you got someone who plays a 9, and you've got someone who plays a 6 playing a 14. So
yeah,
it's probably the biggest mismatch of the whole game itself, realistically
yeah,
for us.
yep,
But
yep,
we can only really hope for good results.
yeah, yep, yep. Hope that the worst doesn't happen and the combinations just go to absolute trash.
Yeah,
Um, but looking at number 15, we've got Lindsay Collins there, Space Jam making his return um, after injury. Now up against Spencer Lenny, both the boys are coming from the same team, from the same forward pack. Collins with probably the experience over Lenu, in my opinion, but Lenu probably more of the firebrand of the two.
You
He's
probably even
hot-headed,
have to
we know
argue
that.
form as well.
Yeah, yeah, true, very true. I'd say Lenu's probably been the better of the two so far this year, anyway, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he just once they get him off the back fence or something, old back fence Spence, he can break that line. And yeah, he's got a bit of trash talking him. He's got a bit of mongrel, but yeah, that's what we sort of need to do and need to do back. Just get on top and dominate him, and just give him a bit of his own back to shut him up somewhat. So he's going to come on, when the boys are maybe 20 minutes in or 30 minutes in, when the boys are absolutely rooted. Probably won't even be that long, really, but when they're rooted and start busting through the defensive line. And I can only hope that's what happens with Collins too. Like you said before, with the whole Cotter being on the edge and Fermor there, we might have a good combination there, good system there where he jumps in and takes advantage of those tired middles as well.
I think one thing I do like about this is that Collins is definitely an impact player. Um,
Yeah, yep.
I think Collins, and
He's
it's the
playing
one
his
thing.
better
It's one of
role.
the things. It's one of the things that the Roosters, in my opinion, don't utilize as well with him.
Yeah,
Is that he's incredibly strong as an impact player. I
yep,
think
yep,
we're gonna see both Nanai and Collins on at the same time at some point in this game.
yep,
And you're going to have some really, really powerful contest for kick chase.
yep,
That's
yep,
one of the biggest things that Collins brings to the table. Just like Nanai with massive, massive kick chase. They're very big bodies. They're very hard to stop. They usually win 1v2 even.
yep,
Um, it's that's probably the biggest thing I guess there is just seeing how they utilize Collins at the same
yep,
time as Nanai.
yep, yep. Yeah, get them in there and terrorize some of them centers and edges and middles, most definitely.
Mm.
Jumping on to the 16s, Bo Fermor making his debut. Someone again, we're talking about Moe and Tino at the Titans. Fermor has been a shining light for them this year, and while they haven't had the greatest run of form in that, I mean, he's been a pretty prolific try scorer for them, but he's been one of the better edges in the comp. I mean, even looking from a fantasy perspective, he's one of the most owned or better owned edges from people that are ranking high up there. So
I mean,
definitely
look,
you could.
you'd have to even say as well that he was probably a bees away from playing last year.
Oh, 100%. You're exactly right. He's someone whose name was in the conversation, definitely.
Mm.
And one injury away, you know what I mean? And it's happened. We've got Gilbert out, unfortunately. So, yeah, I think I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what he can do. Probably, a little bit, I wouldn't say concerned, but you got the unknown of if he hasn't
Mm.
debuted yet, he hasn't played in that sort of atmosphere or whatever, especially coming from the Titans. But hopefully, having the boys in the Queensland camp there can get around him and sort of unlock his full potential. We can have him as well coming on and terrorising on that edge spot. And then talking about the other 16, Hudson Young, someone else who all year has been in stellar form, and I think a big part of the Raiders' form we've seen so far this year. Talking about prolific try scorer, he's another one. I think he set a few records, or sorry, tied a few records or something like that. And just been absolutely dominant, running amok on the field with the Raiders this year. So you can see why he's gotten the call back up. He's probably toned it down a bit in terms of being as hot headed, just in regards to giving away penalties and things like that. But definitely going to be a danger coming on off the interchange, old Huddy.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, but I guess the thing I like most about this here is both of these players are incredible line runners. They're some of the best line runners in the game.
Yep,
Both Bo
agreed.
Fomo and Hudson Young. And I mean,
Yep,
it's like I said with Bo. He's been so close to getting the call up for this for so long. I think
yep,
I think he's gonna shine. I think he's gonna shine. And I think Hudson's gonna probably. I've if I was a betting man, I'd have Hudson in 1, 2, or 3 for try scorers. So
yep. Yep. Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, I mean, I'm hoping we do see Fermor go over, but I'm feeling like Hudson's gonna hit that too. He'll be one to
Yeah.
go over, especially once that fatigue's set in. We've seen Fermor get good ball off Tino, albeit forward, but get good ball off Tino a few times that lead to really good tries. So hopefully that combination can be revived here as well. I think it'll be dangerous for New South Wales if they do. Then the number 17s, Trent Loiero, up against Max King, both debutants. I mean, Max King. I mean, as much as you sort of hate to talk too much on the Blues, give him props too much. I think he's probably one of the good guys of the league or whatever from what everyone's seen, and probably had some quite solid form to net him that spot. There's a bit of, you know what I mean, bit of conjecture and talk around about how he got the spot over a couple others who were arguably in better form or have had better form, but
Mm.
I think he's probably been maybe the most consistent or solid throughout the year, and probably someone who, even maybe last year, probably not as much as Beau Fermor, but last year would have had his name sort of been spoken about. But you got to
I mean,
agree. I mean,
look,
it is good to see him get the shot.
I think it's I think it's the perfect like opportunity as well. Like it's game one.
Yeah.
People are talking this and that about everyone
Mm,
else, but you got to
mm,
remember that this is only game one. Um,
yeah.
this is the perfect opportunity to chuck Max in. Like I mean,
Yep.
it would have been the same result as well. Realistically, if you chuck in Uto Okamano, you'd probably have to argue. I mean,
Yeah.
Max has
Yep.
been in the extended squad once.
Yep.
Uto
Yep.
Okamanu's had one game.
Yeah.
Hamole
Amole.
Olakawatu has been extended squad once, haven't, or in one game, I think, maybe.
He's played one, possibly
Played
two,
one,
Hamole, but yeah, he's definitely been in the extended squad
yeah,
before.
but he's
Yeah,
been extended
definitely.
squad because then that was that time that he came off the bench to start to get in the fight. So
Yes, that's right. That's right.
then he got
Yep.
then he got
Game
in shit
two.
for it. So yeah,
Game two last year.
so
You're right.
that's
Yep.
right.
Yep.
So I mean, look, there's minimal experience between all three of them. They're all
Mm,
probably going to get a go.
mm.
Why not? It's game one. Chuck Max King and give him a go. And I
Yeah.
personally, I think
Yep.
there's been a lot of talk about form between all three of these people as well.
Mm,
Yes, Olakawatu, you'd have to argue, has had the better form, 100%. But is Olakawatu exactly what you're looking for in this particular role for that
yeah.
game? Look at the
Yep.
rest of your team. Chuck
Yep.
another big body like Max King on there. I think he's one of the best ball runners in the game in those forward spots at the moment. And he's one of the
Yeah.
big. He's one of the more, I think, prolific try scorers as a forward as well right now. I think he'd be up there
He,
for top five for try scorers as forwards.
he's definitely, I would say, in my opinion, more consistent.
Mm.
Uto Olakawatu, I think, started the year on fire and then has sort of petered out ever since. In comparison, I think that's probably where, for me,
I think
Max
the other
King wins out
thing,
there.
I think the other thing is Hamole has also got some sort of strapping that I saw last game around his
Right.
around his like upper quad sort of thing. So I'm wondering
Okay.
if maybe he's still managing something, and maybe that's what's led to Laurie saying, "All right, you've
Possibly.
still got
Yeah.
time. Let's give Max the go first.
Yep.
You guys
Possibly.
can
And
come in later."
that's right. If he doesn't sort of, not so much kill it. If he does have a bad game, all right, you've had your shot. Time to bring one of the other fellas who have been tried and we know can do the job in. Yeah. So
And even
definitely
then,
think.
he will still be extended squad. Let's be honest.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And then moving over to the Queensland debutant, Trent Loiero, someone who, God, I mean, he's been great for Melbourne for the last couple of years, maybe 2 years, but this year, geez, he's just had some lapses in I don't know, maybe we'll call them brain snaps, but just I mean, we
Look,
even saw it in that Magic Round game, Raiders versus Melbourne. He just could not do a thing right. Everything he
yeah,
did, it all had the best intention, but everything resulted in a penalty, right? So
I really, really strongly believe that with Liero, this was a comfort pick from Billy.
yeah,
And you have to. I mean, I think Liero has been in the extended squad. I think 4 times, like 3 or 4 times,
he
but
was
hasn't.
definitely last year. Yeah,
Yeah, he's been in there like 3 or 4 times, both in the last 2 years, and he
yeah,
hasn't made it onto the field because there's just been too many other people that have been better.
yeah. Just hasn't
This
slotted in or fit in.
Yeah, Trent is very rocks and diamonds. This year really has shown that so far.
Hmm. Hmm.
I do not agree with choosing Liero over Kurt Mann. I
Mm.
think Kurt Mann is the better choice,
Hmm.
but it's the same. It's the exact same logic when it comes to,
King.
King versus Uto and Olakuatu.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
game one. We have so much time to try things.
Yep.
Give the boys a run. Let the boys play. You know.
Give him. That's right. Give him a shot now. See how he goes, and that's it. If he doesn't, because he, I know we talk about needing that bit of mongrel on that, but unfortunately, it's not so much mongrel Loyero has as opposed to maybe just an error, which then
It's
compounds
just
and becomes
discipline. Yeah.
errors. Yeah, it becomes errors, which then sees him get absolutely hammered
Like if you
for
want to
his
go by
fingers
form right
tapping someone's
now,
chin. Yeah.
like if you want to go by form right now, it's the for me
Mm.
with Kurt Mann, it's the exact same thing as Max King in the sense of they're both incredibly consistent players and safe hands more than anything.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Definitely.
they're both two big boys who consistently don't lose the ball. That's a
Yeah.
big thing right now.
Yep.
That
Yep.
they don't give away too many penalties. They're consistent on their PCMs and overall meters gained.
Yep.
Um, Trent just has a big discipline issue right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, he can definitely, and that's it. Like we said, Raiders game specifically at Magic Round, we just saw it, just couldn't do anything right, and then they just compounded and it become error after error, which then put them on the back foot, or kept them on the back foot rather, unfortunately. But
Yeah,
yeah, talking about that, hopefully that's it. Getting he's been around the squad, but getting him in around the squad, getting him into play. Hopefully we can see some sort of level up in form or whatnot from him. Most definitely. Jumping onto the reserves, though, talking about Kurt Mann, exactly right. He's one. Look, he's one. In all honesty, if it wasn't Tom in 14, I wouldn't have anyone else in 14 right now, other than Mann. I think Mann's probably unlucky to not be in the side, in my opinion, because you can have him. He's perfect, like Watson. He's probably almost our version of Watson, in my opinion. He slots in. He can cover hooker. He can move into the middle. He can move onto the edge. He can just do a job for you, Mr. Fix It, I think. And like you said, form at the moment at the Dogs, pretty instrumental or pretty big part of it, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, oh man, geez, I just don't like it. Every time I keep looking at it, man, I really think Kurt Mann should just be
Why?
in there. I really want Kurt in that squad more than anything after watching him this year.
Yep.
Um, look, I think if we ignore the fact that I can't handle Kurt not being in that 17, I think Arthur's and both Fuiaki are both fantastic reserves as well, and
Yeah.
you'd have to even argue that they're probably not even that far off being in the side anyway.
Yeah. You'd have to think that's exactly right. And Arthur's as well. I mean, Arthur's was a bit of a surprise one for me in terms of just the other options we have. But yeah, Talangi not being there on the wing, that's
Obviously, with Talangi out, that's what
yeah.
makes sense to me there. But
You
do you
wouldn't
also
you
think
wouldn't
that
want
maybe
yeah.
Arthur's is a knee-jerk reaction to his club level performance?
Could be. He's definitely been quite decent. I would say one of the more solid wingers over the last few years. But yeah, he just has had those few things in his game, those couple of errors in his game, in my opinion. And I don't know. I just think we've had better wingers, really all around. I mean, Coates. I wouldn't pick anyone other than Coates at the moment. And Talangi's while he hasn't been as great as he can be, he does do a job at Origin. It's just unfortunate for that injury. You know what I mean, keeping him out. But yeah, Arthur's getting in around the squad, same sort of thing, getting him in. And if time ever does come, he's had that experience. He knows what to expect.
Yeah.
He can get in, and
He does
you
need to put on
see.
a bit of size, though, I think, if he wants to play the
Mm,
Origin arena.
yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. He is a bit smaller on the smaller side. I mean, To'o's got that bulkiness
I mean,
on
you
him,
put him
unfortunately.
against Toa, and Toa's going to eat him alive. So
Yeah, exactly. And then yeah, Kula Kefu, another one. He's been an amazing edge. Really shit to lose him at the Cowboys. Unfortunately, Dolphins have been utilizing him very well. He's probably one of those more or less firebrands in the edge spot there. He could, become something of a weapon up against the players like Martin and Crichton and stuff like that. So good to get them in and see them in around the squad. Probably won't see them play this year outside of necessity, but
I feel
yeah,
like Kula Kefu is probably a little bit further away.
yep,
But I mean, I guess you look at it. Uh, if the Cotter thing doesn't work out at second row,
Yeah,
maybe. But even
couple
still,
injuries
or
even.
more so, even if Cotter gets injured, probably is probably the most likely thing,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he's very very injury prone, especially with his upper legs.
yeah,
Um, so I guess that's probably one positive thing is Kefu could slot in very nicely.
yep.
You'd have to imagine you don't see him play for at least maybe another couple.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then even on top of that, you do have Horsburgh as well, who didn't get picked and has been
Yeah,
decent. Unfortunately, he sort of had that head knock and whatnot, which might have played a bit of part in him not getting picked. But
I
yeah,
think
another
for
one as
me for
well.
Horsburgh, it's probably the discipline side still.
Yeah, yeah,
Gives
there is that
just
as
gives
well,
away a
definitely.
few too many penalties and
Yeah,
just
yep,
little too cranky. Little too cranky. He
yep,
needs to cool it.
yep. Good old red nut.
Yep.
And the New South Wales reserves, we'll have a quick look at Campbell Graham there in 18th man. Yeah, been decent. Another one who hasn't played for a long time, hasn't played a great deal of games this year, or maybe he has played most of it, but he was out as well. Probably a safe bet, I think, safe bet to have there. But there's a few others that have obviously ahead of him there for that
I mean,
centre
look,
position or
he's
even wing position.
Campbell lost an entire year to that sternum injury.
It was like 500 and something days, I think, between games
Yeah,
for him. It was
like
a long time, man. Over a
he's
year.
lost nearly 2 years. Yeah, lost
Yeah,
nearly two
yeah,
years.
yep.
You'd probably even argue that it was 2 years of actual game time that he's lost.
Very well. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
like that's a long time. So it's understandable that he's not within the 17.
Mm,
Um, and don't get me wrong, I still firmly believe that he's one of the best centers the game's had in the last 10 years.
yeah,
Um,
yep,
but yeah,
yep,
he's just lost so much time. He's lost so like
yep,
his body has changed as well in general.
yep, yep.
That's one of the things that I like. We've brought up a couple of times that he just looks a lot smaller than he used to.
Not as
When he
built,
was
you're right. Yeah,
when he was at that sort of peak level at the Rabbits, when he was
yeah,
just this massive just force to be reckoned with
yeah.
on that edge there. So in that
Massive
center spot,
defensive. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he would
Massive
just
defensive
cause
effort
everyone
from him.
issues. He'd cause
Yeah,
everyone issues. So
yeah,
um,
exactly.
he's not quite back to that yet. I think
Mm.
next year, I think it really does also pend how Trell and Critter go at the center as well. You have to imagine they'll
Exactly
be
right.
fine, but and also pending
Yeah,
injury too.
yeah.
Um, but Campbell Graham can't be too far away from actually coming to that 17.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. And then also, yeah, Uto Kamanu, we've seen there, he's done a job before, and Olakwatu Hamole. Yeah, yeah, same thing. We spoke about it before, right? They've had the spot, they've had their opportunity, and they will get it again, definitely.
Mm.
It's just, yeah, they're just probably they're really starstruck. They've just got enough. They've got enough in their side at the moment. That's keeping him out. They've got a solid stock there to keep him out.
I guess
Unfortunately
that's
for
really the
them.
main thing when it comes to Olakawatu. I mean, Uto is kind of like there's you can do it. Like I still feel like there's other players you could pick even over Uto as well.
Yep.
Um, but Olakawatu is one of those ones where it's like, ooh, you kind of want to you want him an extended no matter what. You want him always training around Origin. You want him
Yeah.
always ready to go because he's only not in that squad because there's just only a couple of players that you have to
Yep.
have in there by necessity. They're not
Yep.
even necessary. Like I mean, look, it's Trell and Credit. They're both players who can play in many other spots.
Yep.
All it takes
Yep.
is one injury at this point, and Hamole's in. Like,
Yep.
so
Yep. Exactly right.
I think when it comes to him, it's a bit more serious. But with you're not wrong, right? Like it's just they're so strapped for spots.
Yeah.
They've got so much star power available to
They're
them
s-
from lack
they're
of injury
spoiled.
more than
They're
anything. They're
really
very
spoiled for
spoiled for
choice.
choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. With that though, we might wrap it up. Sun is starting to go down quite fast now. It's getting pretty dark, and I have to get ready for dinner over at the casino over there. What do you reckon? Margin? Give us your tip. Margin and try scorer or try scorers.
Ooh, our scorers. Okay, throwing that in. All right. Alrighty. So
Margin result. Make your own little multi up. Let's say that. Not that
I think we
we're
gamble
advertising
responsibly here.
gambling.
Actually, yeah,
Yeah,
we gamble
yeah.
responsibly here.
We won't
Not
mention numbers, so let's not
yeah.
mention numbers. We'll just give some legs.
My idea. My idea is going to be. I think you're going to see. Valentine Holmes
Hmm.
anytime. I think you're going to see
Hmm.
Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow anytime. I
Yep.
think you're going to see Hudson Young 1, 2, or 3.
Yep.
And I'm also going to throw in a Liam Martin
Ooh,
anytime.
dangerous. Yep. Yep. Very nice.
I
I
just I like Liam's odds against Nanai when
Yep.
aggressing,
Yep.
but that same thing goes for him. So
Yeah, the
both
opposite
Nanai
way.
and both Nanai and Martin are going to
Yep.
be just as dangerous to defend against each other.
Yep.
Um, but I think I think each of their attacks are in their own respective right are good, but I think both
Yep.
of their defense in their own right are not as good. It's polished.
Yep. What do you reckon for result and margin?
Result, I think, given a lot of the what am I looking for here? I guess consistencies of each player in each spot. I think I'm going to have to say New South Wales will probably get this by
Mm-hmm.
8 points.
Eight, cool.
8 points.
And I'm thinking, looking at it, I don't know what it is. Tino's calling out to me. I'm thinking we'll see Tino go over, and I want to see Tino go over because it's not very usual, especially not in an Origin game.
Not in the Origin, yeah. Mm.
Tino, I'm gonna say Max King. So let's put two big boys up there. That's the feel good seeing Max King go over.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say Queensland 1 to 10, between 1 to 10. Yeah, well, they usually are. They're pretty well always close games, unless it's some sort of thrashing due to something. But and they're the ones we love to see, right? Every Origin game with a margin like that is generally a really good game,
Still
or
at
at
least
least
a
a
good
good game
game.
to
Yeah.
watch at least, regardless of the result. So yeah, I'm thinking that's what we'll see there. Alrighty, well with that we might wrap it up. I might even grab the camera here and we'll have a bit of a look at the view. Show the viewers. Oh, there goes everything else all fallen over. There we are. There's Queensland, God's country, as they say, the Brown Snake, Brisbane River, and right over there, the brand new Star Casinos, where we'll be heading for dinner. Gamble responsibly, as we did say earlier. But yeah, with that, we'll wrap it up, and we'll see you for our normal episode later in the week. So until then, thanks for listening.
Go Queensland.
Queenslander.